day to celebrate the World Bipolar Day. Also, please, can we have the take of Mr. Tabo? Mr. Jose Tabo, please, shall we have your take? Thank you.
Okay, so I did while you were away. So I'm happy to be part of the program this evening. And thank for the collaboration between yourself, Ghana Psychological Association, and MindUp Africa. Together, we are sure we'll be able to share our views and also clear some misconceptions that may be there, and then how best we can support or protect people living with bipolar disorder. So thank you for having us, and I think we'll be having a great evening with you.
Thank you very much to all my panelists, and also for the collaboration with Ghana Psychological Association and also with MindUp Africa. We look forward to a great moment tonight or this evening. And so we are looking also, may I ask, what's the difference between schizophrenia and then the bipolar disorder? It looks like there are similarities with the traits or symptoms. Can we have either Counselor Ophelia or Counselor Tagbo take us through the difference? Thank you.
So should I go?
Yes, please, you may.
Okay. Thank you so much for the question. I would like to say that bipolar is a mood disorder, which popularly people know it as mood swings. Okay. So it involves the emotional highs and lows of our mood. So when you're emotionally high, we call it mania or hypomania. And then when you're emotionally low, we call it depression, right? So interchangeably, you can go on the extreme sides of the bipolar spectrum. So when you are at the emotional heights, which is more of the right side, and then if you're on the depressive side, which is also on the left side. So at whichever side you can fall in between, and that's where we have the bipolar 1 and 2. And then there's also another type which we call, is it clitemia or something, which is between of the bipolar 1 and 2. However, for bipolar, it is characterized mostly, for the bipolar one, it is characterized by the manic episodes, and then it can last for about 7 days or more, right? And so the depressive symptoms may also occur as well. For bipolar 2, there's always that pattern of the hypomania or the manic episodes, right? And most of the times it is less severe than the bipolar one. And the cyclotimic disorder too, it is a period of hypomania and periods of depressive symptoms, which can also last, which when it is persistent can last for 2 or more years. However, it's normally diagnosed within 4 to 7 days. In children, it can last for about a year, and the same as adolescents. So adolescents and children can all experience the bipolar disorder. For schizophrenia, it's it's also a mental disorder that normally affects the reality of a person. All right. And the reality of human beings are how we think, how we feel, and how we behave. If how you think is distorted, definitely it will affect how you feel and behave. So when these distortions take place, that is someone's thought pattern, someone's perception, emotional language, and sense of self changes, it means that the whole being has become dysfunctional, even though to the person suffering from the schizophrenia may see it as their reality. In other terms, it is not always the typical way, because we have been advised not to use the word normal, because who then defines normality, right? But we look at the typical ways of how things are done. For example, a schizophrenia person may see a bell and say it's a snake. That is when they are having all kinds of hallucinations. And also, they also exhibit what we call the delusions, as in they hold on very false belief very strongly. So they may believe that God, they have seen God, all right? They have seen God and God has told them certain things. It may not be true, or we may not have seen it, but that is their reality, right? But in typical terms, the Bible says no one has seen God before, right? And so as human beings, do we see God? The answer is no. So these are like one way or the other, the differences between bipolar and schizophrenia. However, they are all mental health disorders. And we all get an impairment of our cognition. That means your memory, your attention, your ability to think, to process, and then to interact with society is mad. So at the end of the day, you also become very dysfunctional at the workplace, with your connection to people, with your own self, and then your environment. So this is in short what I have to say. I'm hoping that Counselor, sorry, his name again. um yeah, I'm hoping that
Yes,
yes,
I'm Jones.
Jones, yes.
Yes, please.
Counselor Jones will take over here. Yeah.
Yes, I think you've said what it is actually.
Hmm.
I may want to add a little is that so bipolar, as you rightly said, is actually on the mood of an individual. It's based on the mood. And then that extreme. So that's why I said if there are two poles, either the manic or the depressive episode. However, so that is with the bipolar. So talking about symptoms wise between the bipolar is more of mood. It comes with these two. So the manic symptoms, rather that there will be this increased energy of the person, the euphoria that may be coming, these grandiose ideas, reduced need for sleep. Sometimes they find it difficult to sleep. That's because the mood is just unstable. There may be racing thoughts that may be flooding through the person's mind, a lot of impulsive behaviors, and then risk-taking behavior. So these things, at that moment, you said the person is kind of in quote high. The person is that just had that kind of aggressive tendency, but it is all about the mood that is affecting a person. And then what is fascinating about bipolar is that the swings can be so sharp sometimes. So this person will be in this euphoric atmosphere, and in the next few minutes, this person has just switched the pole to a depressive mood. So when the person, someone who is very elated, very having grandiose ideas, racing thought, suddenly realize that you just have low energy, loss of interest in activities that they usually enjoy. So these things shift to schizophrenia. As you rightly said, schizophrenia is more about the thoughts, the thought pattern of the individual. So in this case, the person's way of thinking have become faulty. Their perceptions are faulty. And sometimes, so in schizophrenia, I have what we call the positive symptoms and the negative symptoms. That's with the schizophrenia. So with the positive symptoms, that's where we have the presence of the hallucinations, where either the person is having hearing voices that are not real, seeing things that are not real, feeling things moving on the skin, having sensing some smells that are actually not real, all this, even tasting things that are not real. All those things can fall under hallucinations. And then we also have what we call the delusions, under the positive symptoms of bipolar. So there are things, that's why the individual have this belief that things are not the way they are. So they have these false beliefs. Basically, that's what delusions are. So they are these, their beliefs are so weird. Some of the things that they will say, you like how, because they are deluded, and their speech, if they are having conversation with this person, that their speech are sometimes disorganized, and the behavior that they put up may not be consistent with the conversation that is going on. So the positive symptoms come with the hallucinations, delusions, these disorganized speech, and then behaviors. And then when it comes to the negative symptoms of schizophrenia, so that's where lack of motivation comes in, reduced emotional expressions may be coming up, and then sometimes social withdrawal, all because of how the thoughts, the perception the person is having. So sometimes you feel people may be plotting against them, so they may not want to go among people, they want to withdraw themselves from society. And sometimes based on this, they have difficulty in forming relationships. So they find it very, very difficult to form a meaningful, a stable relationship. So on symptoms wise, these are some of the differences. So bipolar is more about the mood, and this mood swings so fast. And then, but with the schizophrenia, it's more about disorganized thoughts or perceptions that affect the person's daily functioning and even occupation and every aspect of their lives. However, they are all mental illness, as Madam Ophelia rightly said. So this is a few I may want to add on when it comes to the differences. Thank you.
Hold on. Oh, thank you very much for the amazing submissions. Once again, I'd like to acknowledge our partnership with the Ghana Psychological Association, that's the Para and Lay Division, and also MindUp Africa. We are so very much grateful. And also, I'd like to acknowledge our supporters, which is Great Commission Movement of Ghana and House of EBQ, as well as Alpha Wave Concept. Thank you very much again. And we really appreciate the partnership and then teamwork we are having to celebrate today's World Bipolar Day. So I'd like to start with Councillor Enyanam to share with us briefly in handling a case that involves probably an accused or a victim who happens to be suffering from bipolar. How do you handle it? She'll proceed with the presentation as well. Thank you very much, Councillor. Sorry, Lawyer Enyanam.
Amma, thank you very much. I'm
Yeah,
not a
I'm calling
counselor.
you Councillor.
Please. All right. So when it comes to crime, the general exemptions from liability under the Ghanaian criminal law include infancy, intoxication, insanity, mistake, and automatism. So the law presumes everyone of the age of discretion to be sane and responsible for his acts. And then the law further proceeds on the assumption that a person without capacity to reason with the mind is incapable of forming the required mental element. Now, let me say that when it comes to crime, there are two ingredients that the prosecution must prove, and it's usually the actus reus and then the mens rea. So the actus reus is the physical aspect of the crime, and then the mens rea is the intention behind it, or the guilty intent behind it. Now, in the case where someone is able, or a suspect or an accused is able to prove that they are insane, or that they were not sane at the time of the crime, the verdict will be a special one, which will be the guilty but insane verdict, which is a special verdict. So under Section 27 of our Criminal Offences Act, which is the Act 29, it states that the special verdict in the case of insanity is only applicable if the person was prevented by reason of idiocy, imbecility, or a mental derangement or disease affecting the mind. That same section also goes on and say that the verdict is available, the special verdict I talked about is only available if that person did the act under the influence of an insane delusion. So I'm happy that our counselors talked about the delusion. So that special verdict is available for people who were suffering at the time of the act from insane delusion of a nature that renders that person an unfit subject for punishment. So once you're not able, or the person is able to establish, the accused is able to establish that I was not sane at the time of the act, and then the courts consider whether the person knew the nature of the acts they were doing and the consequences. Remember, I talked about the actus reus and the mens rea. So the court will consider that if you knew the nature of the act and the consequences of the act, and if you did not, then you would be given the special verdict of guilty but insane instead of the usual verdict of guilty and then in prison for life or with a capital punishment. All right. So the establishment of the fact of insanity is a question of facts. Usually, it's left for the jury to determine upon the weight of evidence, at least at the trial. So you just can't go to the court and say, oh, I was insane at the time. There must be enough evidence. Usually the court will consider the contemporaneous acts. Or so we are talking about the act at the time of the act, maybe the things you did or your acts prior to you committing the act, and then acts you did immediately after. They may consider medical history if it's hereditary, and then they also consider medical evidence or expert opinion, which is usually, of course, the doctor, medical evidence. And that medical evidence must be unchallenged. So when it is unchallenged, then you can prove that at the time of the act, you could not understand the nature or the consequences of your actions. And then the court would pronounce that person guilty but insane instead of the usual verdict of, guilty. So usually that is how courts handle how do I say, criminal acts of people that are suffering from mental illness or mental disorders. Hello?
Please, we can hear you.
All right. Yeah, so that's how the court
can hear you.
usually. Yes. And then I think it's also important to note that under the persons living with the Persons with Disability Act, sorry, forgive me for that. The Persons with Disability Act, specifically Section 5, states that where a person with disability is a party to a judicial proceeding, that the adjudicating body shall take into account the condition of the person. Emphasis on take into account the condition of the person with disability and provide the appropriate facilities that enable the person with disability to participate effectively in the proceedings. So clearly our laws, target people with mental disorders and then who commit crimes. So it's not like our laws, just neglect them or pronounce them guilty. But then there are facts that must be proved that this person was insane at the time and could not appreciate the nature of the act or the consequences thereafter. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Enyonam. We appreciate your amazing presentations. So we'll come to questions after presentations by the other panel members. Please, I'd like to invite Councillor Tebo to also do his presentation on the topic. That's the role. Please a moment.
Please get a different person. I just joined right now, so I'm still organizing myself. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So please stay with us, and then hopefully by the time you are settled down, you can ask your question, please.
I hear.
Yes, please, Councillor Solomon. And so, Councillor Tabo, please could you take us through the topic, the role of relationships and support in managing bipolar? Okay. Yes, please. But before that, I'd like to give a brief introduction. Okay, so Sir Jones is a psychologist and not a counselor. Rather, today looks like I'm addressing everyone like as a counselor, which is really not so fair of me. And so apologies, Sir Jones. And so what are some of the key challenges in recognizing and managing the symptoms of bipolar disorder in relationships? Please, in responding to this question, you may proceed with your presentation as well. Thank you.
Okay, so I actually didn't do a presentation. I know it's going to be a dialogue where we ask questions and we respond to. So I don't have a presentation. However, you asked a question on how, what challenges are available. What are some key challenges in recognizing and managing symptoms of bipolar disorder in relationships?
Yes.
Yes. You see, actually, recognizing and managing symptoms of bipolar disorders can be very complex. Let's take, for example, as we mentioned, bipolar being a two-sided mood issue where they are too extreme, where at one point the person is at the manic phase, at another point a depressive phase. So let's imagine this you have a partner who has bipolar disorder, and then maybe during the phase, this person is very talkative. Probably you're having a discussion. The person is very talkative with extreme energy, making plans for changes, like saying a whole lot of promising words, maybe having assured the partner of the things that they want to do. Then, however, this swing enters the sharp change where this person is just moving from the manic phase into the depressive phase. And then this person has just lost interest in the conversation that is going on. This person just feel like not even interested in talking at all. You know, this person was actually having conversations with you, making plans and sharing ideas. And then this change happens. When it happens like this, you realize that you partner, you become a bit confused because you just don't understand what is going on. So it's either you may be taking it like, is that the person is deceiving me? Because this person was just making promises to you right in a few minutes. And then in the next moment, the person just lost interest in all the promises that they're making. And it's as if you are rather forcing them to do something that they didn't or they don't have as part of their plans. So you realize that there'll be that misinterpretation of ideas from the other, and it becomes very difficult in managing relationships. So, and even the person's behavior. So if someone with bipolar makes like an impulsive financial decisions during the manic phase, for instance, their partner might see it as if they are just irresponsible. The one thing we understand is that when we're explaining the manic phase of bipolar, right, that sometimes they're having this grandiosity, these grandiose ideas where they are thinking so big. So that sometimes they'll start putting in some plans, heavy plans that will do this, will do that, and planning things, just sometimes you can't even imagine what they are trying to reach out to. So as a partner, you may think this person is just not being financially prudent because the things they are saying they will do with their money, you wouldn't understand. So sometimes their behaviors are misinterpreted as though they are irresponsible, as if maybe they don't even know what they are actually doing. And this can equally affect communication in the marriage. And you know, every communication is one of the driving forces of every relationship. So if I use marriage, I mean relationship. So it can be a relationship leading to marriage and marriage as well. So communication barriers are also possible that may come up in a relationship. So a person with let's say a person in a depressed mood, it is struggling to express their needs. And then suddenly this person has just started talking, saying things that are actually not in quote meaningful. Like sometimes it brings about some confusion also there, where the other partner doesn't know what exactly is happening. Sometimes it can really lead to loss of trust in their relationship because this is a partner who is promising you this today, and the next moment the person seems not to know what they are telling you. So it can also bring about broken trust in their relationship. So actually, bipolar, these challenges are actually there that affect the relationship because that is why it is necessary we are doing some of these discussions so people get to know about how people express themselves when they are living with a condition like this. Because if you as a partner don't know about the condition and your partner is possessing these things, it's very difficult to handle. It's very, very difficult to handle. A person may not even accept their diagnosis, making it so hard for them to express their opinions or whatever they are doing. So honestly, bipolar can actually have an effect on people.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Okay, thank you very much, Sergio. Then I would like to extend appreciation to the Ghana Psychological Association, the Power and Lay Division for this amazing collaboration, and also to MindUp Africa for partnering with us or collaborating with us for today's episode of the Purple Wellbeing Show. On this note, I'd like to as well introduce Miss Ophelia Boma Azure. So she is the founder of Center for Public Health Development Initiative, dedicated to providing mental health support and culturally competent services to Ghanaians. She's a passionate advocate for mental health and has appeared on numerous TV and radio programs in Ghana. Ms. Ophelia is committed to helping individuals achieve balanced mental well-being. In her free time, she enjoys reading, cooking, and traveling. And so, Ms. Ophelia, we would also take your take. We'll also have your take on how do interpersonal relationships affect the management of bipolar disorder symptoms. How do interpersonal relationships affect the management of bipolar disorder symptoms? Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Sama. I'm grateful once again to be here. It's always an opportunity for me to serve. So the role of interpersonal relationships on bipolar, I'd like us to take us back, since we are counselors and psychologists here, to Maslow theory of needs, right? Which is more of a theory proposed by Abraham Maslow in 1943. And this suggests the human motivation that is based on the hierarchy of needs. So for the hierarchy of needs, the third hierarchy of needs is our physiological needs. These are our basic essential needs for human survival, and this includes our food, water, shelter, good sleep, and good clothing, and all of that. Now, the second needs are our safety needs. And these needs are more of our personal security, financial security, health and well-being, safety nets or health insurance against accidents and then illnesses and all of that. Now, the question on interpersonal relationships now falls on the third hierarchy of needs, that is our love and belongingness needs. And this involves friendship, intimacy, family, and social connections. Now, if we have a positive interpersonal relationships, it means that it can provide us a sense of belonging, stability, and then connection. And a lot of times I would always advocate for positive relationships, because these days there are so many toxic relationships around us. Toxicity in friendship, toxicity in intimacy, toxicity at workplace, even within the family. You may even have siblings fighting as if they don't know each other from Adam, right? And also our social connections on social media, every day having to go through social bullying, social media bullying and attacks and name calling and all of that. You see, it means that when one is suffering with bipolar and doesn't have or is not fortunate enough to find themselves in a positive relationship, it means that they'll find it very hard to improve on their mental health. So negative or toxic relationships may even cause emotional triggers and mood episodes, right? Imagine scrolling on social media and someone saying something negative about being a bipolar and how they hate bipolars, or in code, name calling them, like the Ghanaian term will use crazy people or mad people. So it's like every day in your life trying to survive. It's more of you being in a jungle, because if you don't have good friendships around you, it means that there's no one to talk to. If you're also in a wrong relationship, as in a partner relationship with your spouse, it means that you won't even have a safe space to vent out or to express your emotions, right? So, supportive friends and family can help an individual with bipolar to recognize that early on warning signs and encourage them to even seek for support, and also to reduce the stigma around it. And we are social beings, right? We are not an island, and we cannot always isolate ourselves. The way we were created is more of an ecosystem, right? So we are dependent on one another, one way or the other. We are dependent on one another. So when you wake up one day and you realize that your walls are broken just because you are going through a mental health challenge, also causes so much pain. And you know, when people are going through emotional pain and they can't describe it and they want a way out, some of them would normally seek to try suicide, because now it's like no one understands them, no one values them, no one really cares for them. And so even though they may seek or sort for suicidal ideation and planning, some people may think they are just seeking for an attention, right? And so I want to encourage all of us that we should make it our business to educate ourselves on mental health, because mental health is a human psychology. You and I, when we look at ourselves in the mirror every day, right? Or however we look at ourselves, what goes on in us is human psychology. And if you can think, you can feel, and you're impacted by your thoughts and your feelings, it means there is a mental health going on inside of you. So if you are fortunate enough to be mentally balanced, maybe someone is not. So we should always use kind words. We should always be mindful of our language or the words we use. And lastly, we should also advocate one way or the other. There are so many mental health colors. I think the World Bipolar color is I think yellow or gold. Yeah, like that vibrant color, yellow. So you can also just wear the yellow color. And when someone asks you, why are you looking so bright today? Then you tell them that I'm advocating for World Bipolar Day. You can wear it tomorrow, or even you can add it to your weekly clothing, right? On a specific day, you wear this color, you wear blue, which also represents other mental health colors. So we should make it our business to always impact positively on people suffering from mental health disorders. Even if they are not in your family, they may be people you work with, right? And there's a saying that if you look around you and there's no one with a mental health disorder, then it is you. There's this saying, so that we can stop stigmatizing people who are going through a mental health challenge. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Miss Ophelia. My next question will be to lawyer Enyanam. We'd like to know, what are some of the legal strategies that can be used to protect the rights of individuals with bipolar disorder during custody disputes, please?
Hello, Amma. Thank you very much for the question. So when it comes to individuals or children living with the bipolar disorder, well, it's raining at my end, so I hope I'm audible now.
Yes, please, you are. You're audible.
Okay, all right. All right. Okay, all right. Thank you. So when it comes to children living with the bipolar disorder and then custody of children or custody battles, the courts take into consideration the paramount interest of the child. In fact, in every custody battle, the court considers the paramount interest of the child, just as stipulated under the Children's Act, Act 560. Well, when it comes to divorce proceedings, you find in Section 22 of the Matrimonial Causes Act, Act 367, that there's a duty imposed on the courts during divorce proceedings to inquire from the parties whether there are any children of the household. So the court has a duty to ask during divorce proceedings that are there any children of the household. This is, of course, because there will be issues of custody. So after that, the court then can award the custody of a child to any of the parents. That is either on its own initiative or by application of either of the parties to the proceedings or to the court, to the divorce proceedings. The court may order the custody of a child to either of the parents or any person. The court will also regulate the rights of access of any person to the child. The court also may make an order providing for the education and maintenance of the child out of the properties or income of either or both of the parties. So the mother's money or properties can be used to cater for the child, the father's own can too, or both property and income of both the mother and the father. So now let's look at the principles that the courts will apply with when it comes to issues relating to custody of children. So the usual thing is that the mother is always or usually given custody of children who are young or who may be in need of special care. And I think we all know that the love of a mother is unmatched. I'm not being biased, but yes, usually the courts awards custody of children to the mother, especially when they are young, they are very young, or they are in need of special care. Okay, so you can't use poverty as basis to deny a mother or to deprive a mother of the custody of a child. Just like I mentioned before, that is because the court may order the income or properties of either the mother or of the father or both to take care of the child. So it doesn't matter if the mother is poor or not. The courts usually give custody of children to the mother, especially if they are in need of special care, unless the character of the mother has been impeached. So when the character of the mother has been impeached, and everyone can attest that this woman is not a good mother, or there is enough evidence that this woman's character is not good enough to have for her to be awarded custody of the child, the court would then refuse custody of the mother and award it to the father or someone else. So in the case of Brown versus Mallet, the court took into consideration the ability or the inability of the father to satisfy the court that he could offer in the foreseeable future a home where the happiness and mental stability of the child could be assured. So in that case, the father could not assure the mental stability of the child in the foreseeable future. So the court took that into consideration and denied the father or deprived the father custody of the child. Suffice to say, Section 663 of the Children's Act, Act 560, I think I mentioned it earlier. It states that every parent has the right and responsibility, whether imposed by law or otherwise, towards his child. And this right and responsibility include the duty to protect the child from neglect, discrimination, oppression. They have the duty to also provide good guidance, care, assistance, and maintenance for the child, and assurance of the child's survival and development. Emphasis on the child's survival and development. So as a parent, you have the duty or the responsibility to make sure that your child's survival and development is well taken care of. The courts therefore always consider the interest of the child when it comes to custody of children, at first hand giving custody to the mother, unless otherwise her character has been impeached. So basically, these are some of the principles that the court takes into consideration when awarding custody of a child during divorce proceedings. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Enyanam. And so I'd like to ask my next question, which will be addressed to Sir Jones. What are some of the effective ways for partners or family members to provide support during maniac or depressive episodes? Kindly help us with some of the effective ways. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Aman. So we want to look at supporting a partner who is experiencing bipolar disorder. I think one thing that is very necessary is the other partner knowing that at this moment my wife or my husband is in this mood or is relapsing. So when you're able to identify or know that this behavior of my partner is as a result of this condition, it helps a lot because at least you know what to do. But if you are not aware of the symptoms or when there are triggers, you don't know, it becomes very, very difficult to manage or even to support because you don't even know what you are supporting. So if we want to assume that the partner knows that this is what his or her wife is true, at least the very first, you being calm, at least you know that, let's say, for example, the person is in the manic phase, the over-excitedness or the excess the person is experiencing. It's very good to just remain calm and then maintain your demeanor to help this individual. So for instance, if the person is planning spontaneous trips, suggestions, or even trying to buy things, giving away their gift and all those stuff, keep calm and then try to give good meanings to the reasons to this person why whatever they are doing should be rethought of. But if you want to go in with harsh or forceful ways of this person, they may not understand you. So you realize that there may be confusion that will be coming up that will affect relationship because in no time, this person will be swinging. And as a result of the swing, you realize that the individual, as a result of the swing, the individual is not able to give you the necessary attention that is needed. And then also let us encourage treatment. So gently remind them their treatment plan without being forceful. That's what is very necessary, is that without being forceful, because this individual may have their mood swinging. One time they are understanding, another time they are not understanding. So you have to devise a strategy where you communicate with this person. So effective communication is also necessary in helping these people. You should know how to talk to the individual. And to talk about effective communication, I would like to mention that you are supposed to be someone who is an active listener. As a partner, you should be an active listener anytime, and then you try to validate their feelings. So sometimes you can let them understand that, oh, I can imagine how you feel right now. So if the partner is sharing feelings of anxiety, listen without any interruption or judgment, then validate their feelings by saying, oh, I can imagine what you are going through now. It's also necessary to also set boundaries where you discuss and agree on what behaviors are acceptable during episodes. So one, the individual knows that this is the diagnosis I have, or this is the condition that I have. So because the person knows that at the time they are stable, you have to put some of these structures in place where you discuss and agree on what behaviors are acceptable during their episodes. So for example, if your partner is manic and want to make large purchases or things that you think they are out of place, agree beforehand that you will discuss any financial decisions together so they don't go and start making deposits, giving out their belongings, or making promises to customers to bring them items where they will pay empty their account. You have to let them be, at the time they are stable, make them to be aware that anytime they're in this episode, whatever decision they want to make, they must first consult you as a partner before they take that decision. And then also try to use words, don't try to accuse them, like making statement like, you never listen to me. If I'm talking, you don't want to listen. It makes them feel uncomfortable, and this may make things difficult for you to support them. So you are supposed to, at times it could either be, I feel on, if maybe you think that they are not listening to you, you can let them discuss it. I feel unheard, where we don't discuss how you are feeling. But try to say that you never listen will bring about a lot of confusion. So if you're able to know these things, and then the person comes into this episode of mania, there it becomes easy for you to stay calm and see how best to help the person. And then you can also encourage treatment. Just remind the person of their treatment plan. And as I mentioned, without forcing them into it, but let them know the need for continuing treatments. And then also providing them the structures that are needed to help establish their routine during their manic episode to prevent any impulsive decisions. All these things are things that you're supposed to sit with your partner and discuss. Once you're able to discuss all these plans together very well, when they are in the episode, it becomes very difficult, very easy to set some of these, or activate some of the decisions that you took at the time. Sometimes you can even decide to put a consent form where you have plans and agree with a person that when I'm in this episode, do this, or I will help you do this. So at the time the person is stable-minded, you have all these plans together. So when they become stable or they swing in their mood, they don't come and blame anybody that you did this, you do that, or having any effect on the relationship. And then it's also necessary to plan safety as a partner in supporting a partner experiencing bipolar disorder. It's necessary to plan safety together. So agree on a plan for what to do during the crisis. So some of these things would include having a list of emergency contacts or a signal that indicates they need immediate help. And some of these things can be done to help the person. But actually, what is most necessary is you getting to understand that whatever the person is doing at that moment is based on the condition. If you get to know it like that, it will help you to help. But sometimes if you don't understand, you think the person is doing the thing under pretense, especially if they're in the manic episode. You think they are pretending they know whatever they are doing. And I think at the beginning of the presentation, you mentioned that bipolar is not about hallucinations or delusions, but it's more about mood swings that are at the extreme levels. So it is about knowing. So you don't, as a partner, you don't have to be the one who is quick-tempered, because if you are quick-tempered, you can't help a situation. But you rather be more understanding. If you are more understanding, it helps you to manage or support the partner who is going through some of these mood swings. Even during a depressive episode, you can assist them with their daily tasks. So things that they are finding difficult to do. As a partner, it is not bad to do the cooking. If you are the man, it's not bad to at times take care of the dishes or wash some of the things. Provide the necessary support that your partner needs. If about caring for the babies, you try to give a helping hand. Just know that it won't be long. This person will come out of this mood and everything is going to be fine. But let us also encourage treatment. Bipolar is not all about the counseling that is needed. Sometimes, based on the severity, you may need medical attention. So you collaborate with the psychiatrist to also work on the medical treatment as the psychotherapy. And then, but the family support is most important. The family support is very, very, very important. So as the psychiatrist and then the psychologists are doing their best or their bit to help the person, as a partner in the house, who the person lives with you every day, you should be very understanding with this person. Because sometimes, let's say, for example, in a manic episode, sometimes they have these aggravated sexual desires. Very, very aggravated sexual desires where they may be requesting for sex a lot. So as a partner, you may not understand why they are doing this thing. Maybe you may end up also providing fine if you have the capacity. However, once you are able to understand, you know how to control some of these things, and then it doesn't end up in results that will not be very palatable in the marriage. So these are a few things that I may want to say. If the other panelists want to add up, we'll be glad. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Jones. Miss Ophelia, would you like to add 1 or 2 points?
Okay, well, so he has said a lot of good information out there. And I would also like to add on the fact of adherence to medication, right? I know he's passively about adherence to medication, but sometimes they may have a resistance for taking the medication because of how frequently they will have to take it and how consistency it is to take mental health medication. So with a partner's support, the adherence to medication and treatment is better. Yeah, thank you.
All right, and that brings me to asking Miss Ophelia. We've been talking about individuals experiencing the disorder. Now, shall we also address how partners can balance providing the support with maintaining their own mental health? Those supporting individuals with bipolar disorder, how can they also maintain their own mental health? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I would say that for the caregiver, normally that's how we call it. For a caregiver's mental health is also important as the person going through the mental health challenge themselves. So for caregivers, we would always recommend for daily self-care, right? And the self-care has a whole range of plan, right? And I don't want to go deeper into that, but I'll just list some self-care for our audience. So with self-care, we will talk about your professional self-care, spirituality, physical or hygiene self-care, then your eating how do I pronounce this? How you eat or how mindful you are of your eating, as in if you're on a diet plan or if because of the person you are taking care of has disrupted your eating abilities, you would also be mindful of that. And also your social connections as well. So people who take care of others going through mental health disorders have to also understand that they can be what we call the compassionate fatigue, right? So compassionate fatigue is more of a secondary traumatic experience for something that you are seeing and you are going through. So you can imagine you are married to a man or a woman who for 10 years has bipolar episodes, the ups and downs of it. Sometimes when they are in their mood, maybe how bad they can destabilize the family, what you go through in their hands and all of that. That can also form trauma for the caregiver, right? So you become a compassionate fatigue, as in you care for them, you love them, and you don't want to leave them. Even though you care and you love and you don't want to leave them, you're also going through some traumatic experiences. Mental health is mostly at stake. So the best you can do is also to seek for support yourself. As in, so as I've worked in the clinical setting, sometimes when the daughter taking care of mother close by closer to the mother, like sitting closer to the mother in the ward, normally I would always advise, do you have someone else who can come and take over so that you rest, so you can sleep or go back home and change or do one or two things? Like you allow yourself some breaks. And when there's support, yes, they do it. But when there's no support, we allow the nurses to be the caregivers for a while so that the legal caregiver of that patient can have a little rest time. So we also ask them to resort on other external support measures, as in their own friends, their own church members, if they are Muslims, their Muslim groups and all of that. And also the use of a psychologist or a counselor, because sometimes there are some illnesses that is so confusing. Like, so for the caregiver, when they are able to understand what is going on with their loved one, they are able to cope better, because they would have read to understand what bipolar is, their episodes, they would have watched YouTube videos to understand the display of it and other videos to know what bipolar is. So now it doesn't become foreign to them. So the more they understand, then the more they can connect and then even create purpose for the person going through the challenge. So for them, they have to seek for support from peers and then other support groups, and also engage in mindfulness activities or meditation, right? I know it can be time consuming for the caregiver, but the little time you get, you can always go into mindfulness. On YouTube, there are so many mindfulness videos you can just listen to, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, to calm yourself down in order to reduce your stress. Else a buildup of stress can also lead to another mental health challenge or illness, right? So you practice mindfulness and even visualization, and you can do this with the person you are taking care of. So you emulate that activity so that there'll be connection, there'll be understanding, there'll be purpose, right? Because sometimes people who go through mental health disorders normally feel that they are worrying their loved ones. They feel sometimes they even feel they don't deserve it. All right, so you need to reassure them that I'm here for you, we are in it together. Let's practice mindfulness, let's practice visualization, let's do this coping strategy together. I'll be your accountability partner. So the reassurance has to be frequent in the lives of people who are going through any mental health disorder. And the caregiver also have to prioritize their own emotional needs, right? When I say emotional needs, I mean emotions that are repressed, right? Some repressed emotion. It could even be resentment. Maybe you have unforgiveness towards the person you are taking care of. You have not forgiven them for doing something to you. And so and you are forced to take care of them. So that repressed emotion can come out as what we call resentment, right? Or passive aggressive communication. You are taking care of the person, but it is not from your heart, it is not from your soul. So what will happen is your mind would form an unsafe environment for you, because you are constantly with the person who is a trigger to your emotion, right? So it means that you need to vent out, whether to a pastor about the act the person did, or to a counselor or a psychologist, to also help in resolving your emotions or the negative emotions that come up of this. Sometimes too, some people may have negative thoughts, as in the person may die, or the person may just lose it. When I say lose it, I mean may totally go into a psychotic episode and not gain their reality again. Sometimes it could be financial burden, as in how as in how do I take care of the bill, as in the hospital bill and everything. That can also be another burden as well. So I mean, when you take notice of um all of your emotional needs, your supportive groups and your peers, as in seeking for support and all of that, it helps for you to remain like in a balanced form or in a balanced shape. Because there's a popular saying that a blind man can never lead another blind man. They'll all fall in the ditch together. So it means you have to be sane, you have to be balanced, you have to be able to navigate your own mental health in order to also care for the person that you love. And lastly, I would also speak on creating positive and healthy boundaries, right? Even though you may be taking care of your loved one, they could be taking you for granted, like one way or the other. So you need to draw the line. These words should not be mentioned or should not be said. And I can only do this and you can do this, and this is where my help will end, and I cannot force you. So when all that is cleared, then there would be that healthy boundaries. And a lot of times healthy boundaries thrive in all relationships. If you don't have boundaries in your relationship, you should be ready for disrespect and taken for granted. So when you create those positive and healthy boundaries, at the end of the day, you'll be maintaining your own mental health and that of the person. So this is all what I have to say, that as a caregiver, number one, you need to educate yourself about the ailment, the mental health challenge that the person is going through. You need to practice self-care. You need to take care of yourself, your cognitive health, as in like I mentioned, your psychological well-being, your social life, your spirituality as well, and also seek for support, because you may think you are that strong, but you could also break down, right? So you seek for support from your peers and other support groups, from Christian fellowship leaders. You can ask for prayer support if you're a Muslim too, and all of that. And also engage in physical activity if you can, and then mindfulness activity as well. And lastly, you should create boundaries, healthy boundaries between you and the person, and always seek to express any negative repressed emotions, because that will help you to have a resolved emotional resentment against the person, whether they did something in the past or if they are even currently doing something. It may be your first time taking care of someone who is in complete dependent on you, and that could be very draining. Like it could drain you, your energy, your emotion, your strength, and anything. And so you should always seek to manage this stress as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Ophelia. Sir Jones, please, would you like to add up or say something briefly? Thank you.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Madam Ophelia. I think you've said it all. And then also diet, it's also necessary. The person who is caring, sometimes based on the stress associated with it, you forget yourself without maintaining proper diet for yourself. Sometimes you've forgotten that the whole day is not eating. So it is necessary we make a conscious effort to keep our diet so that we become healthy ourselves. And then also medical checkups will also be necessary for ourselves, because the stress level, it is not an easy job taking care of a person who has severe mood swings, which are very unpredictable. So it is necessary we take care of ourselves. And I think the self-care measures that we mentioned are very laudable. So let us try as much as possible to engage in them. And then the spiritual interventions too. As Africans, our social bonds actually work for us a lot. So we can call for help when there's the need, call other family members to assist. And where you have that social support around you, at times the stress in managing a person like this becomes a bit lessened. So social support is needed. So let us call. We shouldn't say because this person is my wife, my husband, I'll carry it all alone. Involve other people, because sometimes you need help. So help shouldn't be difficult for us to find. Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well, Sir Jones. And I'd like to remind us that this is a Purple Wellbeing initiative in collaboration with the Ghana Psychological Association, the Power and Lay Division, and also MindUp Africa. And we are talking or discussing the role of relationships and support in managing bipolar. My next question goes to Lawyer Enyonam. And so, lawyer, are there any legal protection available to prevent employment discrimination against individuals with bipolar disorder? And how can these protections be enforced? Thank you.
All right, Amma, thank you very much for the question. So when it comes to employment, and generally under the 1992 Constitution, every citizen of Ghana has the right to employment or economic freedom. So you find particularly in Article 36 of the 1992 Constitution, it mandates that the state takes the national economy, that the national economy is managed in such a manner as to maximize the rates of economic development and to secure the maximum welfare, freedom, and happiness of every person in Ghana. And I like to emphasize happiness of every person, which means that no one should be discriminated against, and to provide adequate means of livelihood and sustainable employment and public assistance to the needy. All right, so I also like to say that under the Mental Health Act, that's Act 846 2012, Section 63 particularly mandates that an employer must not terminate the employment of a worker merely on the grounds of present or past mental disorder or while the worker is receiving treatments for mental disorder. I think we have to take notice of the subsection 2, which also says that it's that where an employer has reasonable cause to believe that a worker is suffering from mental disorder severe enough to affect the output of the worker, the employer may assist the worker to seek medical advice with the prescribed procedure. I would also want to add that the provisions of this section gives an employer the right to terminate the contract for employment where the worker is found to be unfit for employment. However, this is subject to the provisions of the Labour Act when it comes to with respect to remuneration. And it also gives the aggrieved worker or the person suffering from the mental health disorder the right to seek redress from the Commission of Human Rights and Administrative Justice. That's the CHRAJ. All right. So clearly you can see that the Ghana legal system has created some sort of protection for persons living with disability as long as employment is concerned. But then the question remains, are employees in the known of this and what really is happening on the field? Let me add that under the Labour Act 2, the employers who employ persons living with disability are given special incentives. But then, just like I said, how many employees are in the known of this, and then what really is happening on the field, or at our workplaces? Recently, MindUp had a webinar on amplifying the leadership of persons with disability, of which Amma was our host, and of course, she did a good job, like she always does. And we had the affable lawyer Tobias Mata as our guest speaker. He shared some of his experiences where he passionately spoke about the constant discrimination he faced as his former employment. If we all remember, the people that were on the webinar, if you remember, he shared the constant discrimination he faced at his former employment, being sidelined and his seniors refusing to delegate certain roles to him, even though he was good at his job. He also spoke about the treatment he received from persons, he had to collect data from because he worked at the birth and death registry. And they would usually hesitate to give him information because of his condition. This experience, unfortunately, will not be limited to just him. And I'm sure every person, or almost every person living with disability, has experienced one form of discrimination or the other. And so this begs the question, are the written laws enough, or could there be some sort of intervention by institutions and individuals alike? I think as individuals who are passionate about mental health, and even organizations, NGOs who are passionate about mental health, we can create some awareness on mental health and the laws governing it. Because of what is shown in the media when it comes to bipolar disorder, we have some popular personalities or, who are in the media, and they've created this misconception about bipolar. And we know that the media is very powerful. So what people see or what people consume is what they think. Okay, so people tend to find bipolar disorder as a quote unquote dramatic condition, or even quote unquote a funny one with quote unquote funny episodes. So it's good that we're having this conversation where our counselors and our therapists are giving us insights on what the condition is, what the disorder is, and how we can manage the stigma around it. So we can all start by creating this awareness through webinars such as this. I also think that institutions and employers can help by encouraging a work culture that promotes acceptance and reduces stigma of mental health conditions. They may, offer training for managers and employees on mental health awareness. They can allow flexibility in working hours and settings, which will be beneficial to persons living with the bipolar disorder. For example, allowing them to work remotely from home, taking breaks. I think I heard one of our panelists talk about that. Yes. So taking breaks, working remotely from home, and just educating, creating awareness at the workplace to help prevent stigmatization. Okay. And yes, so this will be a little contribution to the laws that are already available. For the Persons Living with Disability Act, Section 4 also talks about discrimination, where it says that a person shall not discriminate against, exploit, or subject a person with disability to abusive or degrading treatment. The subsection 2 also warns against discrimination against a prospective employee or an employee on grounds of disability. So clearly, our laws have created some sort of protection. But what can we do as individuals? What can we do as institutions, employers, to create awareness and help reduce the stigma around mental health and disability in general? So this can be, just like I said, workplace culture, interventions from NGOs, legal practitioners. We can create awareness on mental health. We can create awareness on bipolar disorder, the laws governing it, and letting people know that you have this right. And if your employment is terminated, you have this right. You can seek redress from SRAJ. You can do this. You can sue. You can do this. You are entitled to this remuneration and all that. So I think that this is we are on the right path, and we should do more of this. That's my contribution. Thank you very much, Amma.
Thank you, Lawyer Enyanam. And briefly, let me share a profile about Lawyer Enyanam Atapa. She completed the Ghana School of Law with a professional law certificate from 2022 to 2024. She also holds a Bachelor of Law from the GEMPA Institute, Ghana Institute of Management and Public Administration. She also holds a Bachelor in Social Work from KNUST from 2019 to 2022. And then she completed Datus Senior High School, that's 2008 to 2012. My apologies. And then her professional life, she's currently a pupil at the Smith Legal Department, Accra, and the founder of MindUp Africa Foundation. Her interest includes writing, and she is a strong mental health advocate. And we are grateful to have you join us, have this session. So our last set of questions to our therapist and Sir Jones, that's Miss Ophelia and Sir Jones. What are some of the approaches that can help reduce stigma and misconception about bipolar disorder within relationships? Sir Jones, you may take this. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Amma. So I think lawyer has rightly pointed out some of the basic things we can do to prevent stigma and misconceptions surrounding bipolar disorder and mental health in general. So the education is what we can do. So just as this webinar is being organized, it's in place to inform society about what bipolar is and how to support someone with bipolar, and so that we also take away the misconceptions that come with it. But one thing is, we should also understand that there can be culture and opinions to some of these issues, okay? And there are some cultures that allow people to express their emotions, and then there are others too that suppress people from expressing their emotions. So before we actually come out in diagnosing someone with bipolar or labeling somebody, we should also understand the cultural background of this individual and see what is allowed, what is considered as a disorder in that very culture or not. So we realize that in cultures where people are not allowed to express their emotions, they may have a disorder like this, but expressing it becomes difficult. So we realize that the mood swings are coming, and the expression comes in the form of aggression. Let's say in a manic phase, the expression comes in the form of aggression, and it is constantly so because they are not allowed to express their emotions. So because their emotions are being seated on every time, the day it explodes, it becomes chaotic. So, and in some cultures too, physical symptoms are more commonly reported than the emotions and psychological symptoms that it comes. So there's something called somatization, where people present physical symptoms instead of how they feel. So they're not able to express the emotion, but they come out with physical symptoms to explain whatever they are going through. So if you are not careful, this is especially to therapists, if you are not careful, some of the physical complaints that our clients may present may not really be a physical complaint, but an expression of emotion. So this person is coming with you with the same complaint almost every now and then. You run all the necessary labs that are supposed to run, but everything seems to be okay, but the complaints continue to come. It is necessary, even to our physicians, it is necessary to probe further to find the emotional aspect of this individual. It is possible their emotions are being suppressed, they are not able to speak up. So they present these things in the form of physical symptoms, and we may end up diagnosing this person either in line of the physical complaint they are bringing, or we say they are having somatoform or any somatization disorders. And then the issue of spirituality is also very, very necessary when it comes to how people express their emotions, and especially the symptoms around bipolar and stuff. It is very necessary. Spirituality in our part of the world is very, very, very key to us. So people actually contribute, especially when it comes to Africa, we usually attribute issues of bipolar to the work of the devil. So when we say that the person with bipolar is maybe the devil's whatsoever, or the gods are punishing the person for a wrongdoing and whatsoever. So sometimes these things actually cause the stigma to be perpetuated more because of the spiritual beliefs that we have. So instead of seeking help for the person, we rather push the person away because we feel they are demonized. So cultural issues, if we should understand these things very well, and it helps us to explain some of these things very well. So with reducing stigma, if you're able to know about the conditions and we educate people, especially families, get to know about these things, they'll have better ways of supporting. And then let's also put up open dialogue, encourage discussion about mental health in every aspect of our lives, whether it's at the workplace, at the church, wherever. We should have that open dialogue where people can feel free to express their emotions. We shouldn't push people or prevent people from talking. And then as well, everybody should be each other's keeper. That is what I'll say. Today it can be someone, tomorrow it can be me. So if I'm stigmatizing against someone today, and tomorrow it is me or any relation of mine, I think it wouldn't be nice seeing the way I'll be treated. So how you want to be treated, let us treat others like that. And I think in doing so, we can reduce the stigma around this. But necessarily, let's also take the cultural issues into consideration. Thank you very much, Amma.
Okay, thank you very much, Sir Jones. Miss Ophelia, would you like to add up to what has been said? Thank you.
Yes, I would like to first of all commend you so much for celebrating this day, all right? So because by creating awareness campaign, we will be we'll be promoting understanding of what mental health is and then to reduce stigma. So I'm happy that I'm volunteering to do this, and I want to call and I want to urge on everyone that anytime, anywhere you hear of a mental health program, kindly volunteer, okay? Let's make this our own, because Africa is way, way behind in terms of mental health understanding, advocacy, support, and services. Okay, so it's left unto we who are educated and are elites and can understand, because there is the cultural competence division of services. A lot of us find it very difficult transcribing English into our local dialects. I'm a Fafa. Imagine trying to transcribe schizophrenia into the Frafra language. Definitely there's a gap. Okay, but one way or the other, if we come together, de-escalate or break down mental health into our everyday language and infuse it in our everyday dialect, right? People can come to terms with what mental health is, and we should make it our business, like I already said. We should make it our business, not to provide solution or give answers to people. Sometimes by just listening to them and then suggesting if they may want to take a step further to seeking for the help of a professional. But when someone suffering from suicidal ideation come forward, and what you do is first of all to cast and bind, just like Councillor Jones is saying, to cast and bind and make the person feel unworthy. All of that can shut people down. And I would also like to emphasize on the use of technology. There are online resources that we can use. And these days, by creating content, it's so easy. There's Gemini, ChatGPT, and the rest. You can educate yourself, or you can also create content and also support social media contents. Purple Wellbeing has a TikTok, Facebook, and all of that. You can follow and promote their content. And you should also encourage the use of online therapy and then the support groups, which is more accessible for some individuals. Right now, because of technology, there's no excuses. Wherever you are, you can access online therapy, and it is going to be valuable, just like the physical or the in-person therapy that you will get. Thirdly, I would also like to advocate for what policy and change with our governments. If you are here and you work in the government, even from grassroots level, assemblyman and all of that, please always advocate for mental health activities and initiatives in your community. And you also work in governmental institution, advocate for workplace mental health. If you are also a religious leader or a spiritual leader or a church worker or a pastor, advocate for mental health support services in church. As a pastor, you may receive some cases, very sensitive and complex cases back at home that you engage with. You can refer these cases to professionals, okay? Especially with our ethical code of conduct, we are admonished not to provide services for what we are not being trained for. So if you know that as a pastor or as a counselor in a church, you are limited in some educational or empowerment limitations, then you refer for the person to receive competent services so that it doesn't like aggravate, because early intervention to mental health is very important. And also, we can liaise with community stakeholders from the chiefs, imams and the rest, like Jones was saying, traditional or religious taboos, all of these people, we can liaise and partner with them to promote mental health in our communities. And lastly, I would say to challenge every stereotypical measures against mental health. If you join social media and you find that people are using negative words on somebody, don't join the wagon. Please be a positive representation of mental health. Like I said before, if you have found yourself here, you are a representative of a mental health advocacy. So through you, become an ambassador of a mental health campaign. Always try to bring light in your space, wherever you are, whether at work, at home, be the representative and stop any form of stigma, social media bullying, and all of those things, because it doesn't help. It rather shuts people down. And then we hear that people have died by suicide and we are wondering why. It just takes one word to cause someone, because you can't really tell what someone is suffering, what the pain or the turmoil the person is going through. So sometimes just one word is what breaks the camel's back. So we should also have this, what we call the self-awareness. What we say, what we do, the places we go, everything must be intentional. By so doing, we ourselves are creating a balanced mental well-being for ourselves and for the people around us. So thank you so much for the opportunity to also offer my skills or experiences in this. And Miss Amalabi, it's always a great pleasure doing this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you as well, Miss Ophelia. We appreciate the knowledge you're impacting on myself and then all our participants this evening, and that as well of Sir Jones and Lawyer Enyonam. And so the last question goes to Lawyer Enyonam. Please tell us, what role can legal practitioners play in this advocacy to to educate the public in terms of bipolar disorder? What are some of the roles that legal practitioners can play in this regard? Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Amma. So the role that legal practitioners can play basically is, I think that legal practitioners can help in creating awareness on disability in general and mental health, as well as bipolar disorder. And then the law governing it. During the presentation, I mentioned the Constitution, I mentioned the Mental Health Act, I mentioned the Persons with Disability Act, as well as the Labor Act. I think that legal practitioners can educate themselves more on mental health and disability in general, and then create awareness or spread the news or educate people on all the laws that govern it. I think that we can also, educate people on the use of legal instruments such as the power of attorney. So a power of attorney can be used to manage all affairs of the principal. In this case, or in relation to this webinar we are having, the principal will be the person with bipolar disorder. So the principal is the person who authorized the other person to act on his behalf, and the person that the principal is authorizing is the agent. So in this case, the principal will be the person living with bipolar disorder. Okay, so a power of attorney can be used to manage all the affairs of the principal. It can also be used to operate bank accounts and even to prosecute legal actions on behalf of the principal. So we can educate on legal instruments such as this, how to use it, how to register it in accordance with the Lands Act 1036. And then collectively, we can also create awareness and push for inclusivity and pushing for unbiased treatments of persons with bipolar. Permit me to quote again Article 296 of the Constitution, which states that any person in authority who has discretionary power shall be deemed to or have a duty to be fair and candid in exercising that power, and that person shall not be arbitrary, capricious, or biased, either by resentment, prejudice, or personal dislike, and shall be in accordance with the process of law. So anybody with discretionary power or anybody in authority is mandated by the Constitution to be fair and candid in dealing with all persons. So we must learn to hold people in authority accountable, which include employers or any institution a person living with disability might find themselves. That if you are in an authority, you have the duty to be fair and candid to all persons, irrespective of how you feel about them or irrespective of their condition. So we must learn to hold such people accountable. And then in the long run, when we do all this, I think that we can create a fair environment for every single citizen of Ghana without any sort of discrimination. Of course, it's going to take time and it's going to be a little step-by-step process. But then if there's more awareness and there's more education, we can gradually get there as a people. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lawyer Enyonam. And this has been a conversation on the role of relationships and support in managing bipolar disorder. Again, this initiative is by the Purple Wellbeing Show in collaboration with Ghana Psychological Association, that's the Para Lay Division, and also MindUp Africa. I'd also like to acknowledge our supporters, which is Great Commission Movement of Ghana, Alpha Wave Consult, and House of EBQ. Once again, I'd like to say thank you very much to our panelists, that is Ms. Ophelia Boma Azure, Enyonam Atapa Esquire, and Mr. Jones K. Tabo. Participants, I'd like to invite questions. You may please use the raise hand button to ask your questions or contributions. Thank you very much once again. Okay, so we have Madam Josephine Solomon's mic on mute. Please, would you like to make a contribution or ask a question?
Yes, please. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. In fact, I really enjoyed this program. I wish next time such a program should be organized. But in fact, yesterday I missed one too. So in fact, I nearly became mad. But because of such things, I didn't. So for the past 2 years now, and now I'll be able to recover. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Solomon, or Sir Solomon, for sharing. Letting us know that you actually have had an experience like that. We appreciate your participation and look forward to having you join more of our exciting programs, which will be targeted at advocating for mental health in Ghana here. Also, we have...
Thank you. Thank you too.
Yeah.
And Mrs. Ophelia Zanore.
Okay, thank you so much. And so we have Sir Richard Purple. You have your microphone unmuted. Would you like to ask a question or make a contribution?
To ask a question, Madam.
All right, please go ahead.
Thank you, and thank you to all the panelists. I equally appreciate the contributions they made. My question is on the presentation, the last presentation from lawyer. she said something I don't understand, like that the principal appointing an agent to act on his or her behalf in case of the condition. But I don't know whether this agent is, maybe you suddenly go into the condition. How do you know that, oh, I'll go into the condition if, or everybody should plan for that, such that maybe in case my wife should take care of me, you appoint your partner as the agent before such things happen. So if she can throw more light on that, I'm a bit confused with that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much for the question. So I believe, I want to believe that everyone or every person living with a bipolar disorder is very much aware or was aware when they were diagnosed that they have the disorder. So in your lucid interval or in your lucid moments, you can create a power of attorney, knowing that you have a bipolar disorder or that you're suffering from that. You create a power of attorney whilst you are lucid, in your lucid moments, not when you don't have to wait until you get into an episode to create a power of attorney. You get it?
Okay.
So you see a lawyer, you see a legal, exactly. Thank you very much. I hope I've explained it.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Purple, and also thank you, Lawyer Anyanam, for your swift response. We have Madam Sarah on there, also unmuted. Please, you may ask your question and or make your contribution. And she is the organizer at the Ghana Psychological Association, and it's a pleasure having you join us on this session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Ama, for this wonderful presentation organization that you have been doing and then what you have done today. And I appreciate the panelists and for the wonderful education that they have done and also the, promotion of mental health in Ghana. I'm very much happy and then excited and then I'm in full support in all what you are doing. I have a little contribution to add. As it is being said by our panelists, bipolar is a mental health disorder or problem. And then it is not only for adults, but children also suffer from bipolar disorder. But most of the time, the children's condition is confused with ADHD, or it is like a childhood excitement or stubborn behavior. So when we see this mood swing in children, we also need to seek mental health intervention for them for assessment and then for diagnosis so that they can get the appropriate intervention. And then furthermore, what I also would like to add, which has been said already, bipolar disorder is it is a mood swing problem or challenge, and then compared to psychotic disorder, which is a mental health challenge, bipolar does not actually require hospitalization. So people with bipolar disorder, they can be treated as outpatient person, and then they can still function in the society, but sometimes they have this mood disorder. And then sometimes also there are a lot of positive things with people with bipolar disorder, especially when they are in their hypomania or manic disorder. Hypomania is a mild high mood, and then manic is a very high mood. So when they are in manic or hypomania stage, we have listed that they go through thought racing and then sleepless time, very much high energy. So people with bipolar, especially when they are in manic or hypomania stage, they become very creative. And then even at that stage, they can write poetry, and then they have a lot of artistic work that they can present. forgot the names, but there are some high-profile people who came up with poetry and then poems and musical and other artistic works as a creative work. So there are positive things at the same time, while we see the negative aspect of the hypomania. So these are few things I would like to add. And once again, thank you very much for the wonderful work you are doing.
Thank you very much, Madam Sarah, for the amazing contribution done as well. And again, she is the organizer for at the Ghana Psychological Association. Please, any other questions so that we wrap up? I'll take the final words from our panel members and then wrap up and say goodnight. Thank you. Any further contributions or questions, please? And so in the absence of no questions, no contributions, shall we have the final word from our panelists, starting with Lawyer Enyanam, please. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Amma. This has been very educative and very insightful, and I'm personally grateful that you called on me to contribute my little knowledge to this. And I'd like to say that MindUp Africa is a non-governmental organization with focus on mental health. Our vision is to help create a society where the mental health of individuals is prioritized through affordable professional services. And then our main mission is to work with professionals such as social workers, lawyers, psychiatrists, and counselors to bring awareness to the purpose and vision of the organization. I would also want to say thank you all for listening and contributing. And I hope that you follow MindUp Africa on all platforms. I'll really be grateful for that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Shall we hear from Sir Jones, please? Your last words for us. Thank you.
Yeah, Amma, thank you very much. I'm personally grateful for you having me and at large collaborating with the Ghana Psychological Association, which I am representing on this panel. We are grateful and we look forward to more of such collaborations in the future. And then what I will also want to say as a final word is that let us all be concerned when it comes to issues of mental health, because it doesn't respect anybody. Today it can be you, today it can be another person, it can be me another time. Sometimes we see what we see to be very far away from us, but it can, when it gets closer to you, you realize that it's something very, very difficult to handle. So let us avoid the stigma and provide the little help we can or we could. Let's stop calling names to people who have mental health issues. And then as well, I'm encouraging all psychologists, either professionals, lay practitioners, psychology assistants, mental health workers, that the Ghana Psychological Association is open to receiving all of you. So if you are interested, you can reach out to us and we'll get you enrolled. The association is there for all practicing psychologists, counselors, and mental health practitioners in Ghana. So this is the mother association for all practitioners of psychology in the country. So we are encouraging members or people who are not yet members to come and join so that we make the association great and advocate more for mental health in Ghana. So on these notes, we look forward for more collaborations in the future. Thank you very much, Amma, for having me.
Thank you very much as well. Yes, indeed, we look forward to other or more collaborative works moving forward. Shall we have Miss Ophelia's last words, please?
Oh, okay. So thank you so much for this thoughtful initiative. I'm so glad to be doing this, and thank you all for those who are still present. I think we started with about 30 people, it went to 40, 50, and at some point I think 58 or so, and now back to 37. So thank you for all those who stayed, and we hope to do more. And as we continue to do more, also try and create more awareness, post more, react to the online activities on mental health as well. And I want you to know that at whatever point you are struggling in your mental health, there is always help. If you seek for help, you will find it. Even though we are not many in Ghana, because I'm sure that those who are in the rural areas like and the Boku, Bolga, Pusika, and the rest, like the northern regions, you may find it difficult reaching out. But like I advocated for online therapy, you can always find somebody willing to provide therapy for you if you are ready and willing as well. So thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy your night and you stay safe. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Miss Ophelia, as well. And on this note, I'd like to once again acknowledge the collaboration with Ghana Psychological Association and MindUp Africa. And just like Sir Jones mentioned, once you're a licensed counselor, the GPA's door is open to you. Join the association. There are interesting and insightful activities that goes on there. You would actually enjoy the association once you register to join. And also, MindUp Africa, again, their vision is to help create a society where the mental health of individuals is prioritized through affordable professional services. And they also seek to educate people on the needs of mental health, the need to speak up and seek help. On this note, Purple Wellbeing Show team is very grateful to have all of you join us. And also, we are grateful for your participation. Thank you and have a wonderful evening. Next week, we shall be having, actually, April 2nd is World Autism Day as well, and we'll be having Experts View next week, Sunday, same time, 7 p.m. Thank you once again and enjoy your evening. Have a wonderful week ahead.
All right, enjoy yours too. Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Good night.
Now that is